Wow, I'm actually scripting a video for once, go figure. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to talk to you about something I, and a few others probably, came up with a while ago but has become more relevant due to a recent announcement. NIS America has announced that they're localizing the remake of the original Utawarerumono, subtitled Prelude to the Fallen, early next year for PS4 and digitally for Vita. That's a real surprise because it looked like that NISA was well and truly done with the Vita. This remake actually fills in a lot of holes that people simply playing Mask of Deception and Mask of Truth wouldn't get, which is absolutely required to get the most out of the series. But for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, let me fill you in. Utawarerumono is a series of visual novel cross-strategy RPG games. Something has happened to the world and is now back roughly a few hundred years in technology while also being filled with animal people. There's way more to it than that, of course, and over the course of 100 plus hours of story and gameplay, you'll meet some really interesting people and beat most of them up. The writing is fantastic, dramatic, hilarious, and it knows how to pace itself. The production values are gorgeous, the Japanese voice acting is top notch, and it's engaging on the level that puts it toe to toe with franchises like Persona. It's great, to say the least. However, due to the weird releases of the game, due to the second and third games coming out first and second respectively in the West, we who played the series around release time ended up running into a problem. Mask of Truth, the third game, absolutely relies on previous knowledge from the first game. There are only two ways to experience the events of the first game at the moment: the fan translation of the PC version, which is hard to get working, or the anime, which actually cuts out a lot of the plot. With that said, most people decided to go with the anime. This ended up creating a few problems in the communities that play these games. Most people would ask what order to play in. Considering the lack of first game at the time, most people would make the entirely reasonable assumption to watch the anime first, which to be honest simply doesn't carry the torch in comparison to the games and might turn some people off. With that said, a method has been devised to help people have an easy way into the series that lets them drop out if they can't stomach it, while also putting enough quality content up front in order to give the best first impression. Named after the infamous Machete order created by a Star Wars fan that moves episodes 2 and 3 back between 5 and 6 in order to improve Darth Vader's development as a character while removing the utter pointlessness of Phantom Menace, the Utawarerumono Machete order is simpler in concept but similar in execution. Play Mask of Deception first, then backtrack to Prelude to the Fallen's events, and then move on to Mask of Truth. The reasons for this are multiple. As I said first, Mask of Deception is a very, very good game. It has great production value, awesome writing, and a sense of style that the anime and fan translation both lack, which means that you get to see why the series is so loved right off the bat. Mask of Deception is also an old game now, which means that finding it on discount is not only likely but common, meaning that you don't have to drop much in order to get into it. There is also an extra upside that most people don't talk about. Mask of Deception is treated almost like a soft reboot of the series. The majority of new characters that you meet are just that, brand new, and the few characters that do return are treated as mysterious figures that are incredibly powerful or incredibly oddball even for the universe that you've just been introduced to. A factor that will be more or less ruined if you could say, oh, that's so-and-so. The game introduces a series of mysteries that's only helped from going in blind by starting at the second game. The problem with starting from game number 2 is that the doorway between Mask of Deception and Mask of Truth simply plops you into the homeland of these original characters and expects you to know a bunch of backstory right off the bat without warning, and you'll be lost from the first hour if you go in without that knowledge. Pretty much all mystery from Mask of Deception will be gone instantly, which isn't one of the best parts of that game. This is why the events of the first game fit perfectly in the middle. The events of the first game almost play out like a facsimile to the second, slowly building up a party of weird and wonderful people and beating the crap out of everyone in your path, so it feels familiar enough. Going back and filling in their backstories like this is also good when you have knowledge of the second game, as being able to say, so that's who that was, absolutely adds to the plot. That and the main characters of the first game, Haku Oro, and the second and third, Haku, definitely have a lot in common, and playing the games like this will definitely help strengthen those connections. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about the relative drop in quality from the anime or the fan-translated original game anymore with the upcoming release of Prelude to the Fallen. Or do we? NIS America has a questionable track record, especially on Vita. Ys 8 was so bad they literally retranslated the game from scratch, and their record on other games hasn't been fantastic either, although there's been very few games in the area of Ys 8. Utawarerumono has its own sense of style in its localization, which adds to its overall quality. We don't know if NISA can match it, and previous results suggest that they probably can't. With that said, there is a silver lining, even if we assume NISA won't be at their best. Prelude to the Fallen is the shortest game in the series, so even if NISA doesn't do the best job, you won't be on it for as long as the other two games by far. And as many problems as NISA has had, they've never put out something utterly unplayable, and the one time they did, they fixed it themselves. While Prelude to the Fallen may not match the second and third in writing quality, at least it will be there to provide the link necessary to truly play through the series completely. And the fantastic presentation, plot, and voice acting can't be changed too much. At least I don't believe NISA would take the chance these days. People love this series and they would get raided if they changed anything too harshly. So with all of that said, the Utawarerumono Machete order again is Mask of Deception, Prelude to the Fallen, and Mask of Truth. You get to see the best the series has to offer up front, you get a fun mystery with the characters from Prelude to the Fallen, you aren't thrown off track by the immediate jump to need-to-know events because of Mask of Truth, you don't have to dump in very much money and dedicate a lot of time if you don't want to, and if you simply aren't enjoying the series when you hit the end of Mask of Deception, you don't have to go any further. It's by far the best way to dive into the series, and unless Prelude to the Fallen turns out to be an incredible turd that can beat out Randy Marsh's best efforts, the series is solidified in my top few series of all time. So if you're curious about the series, feel free to go and pick up Mask of Deception and start playing right now, then you get to suffer the wait for Prelude to the Fallen along with me. Ha, ha, ha. I already had to suffer through the wait for Mask of Truth, and now I get to do it again. This has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.